Hey y'all, it's Amanda and this is my Texas Zone 8 garden, and today we're on the side garden which faces west in my area, and we're going to work on this area from a boxwood over there to these bridal respirias. We're going to be pruning everything back. We're going to be pulling out some plants. We're going to be trimming back the boxwood, and we're going to be planting in some new perennials and annuals. Okay, so we're working our way around. We already did the whole front section of the garden, so now we're going to be working this way. And I like to divide my gardens up into sections when I'm working so it feels less overwhelming. This area has a lot going on in it. One of the first things I think I want to do is get in here and trim up these boxwoods. I did not trim them up last year, and they're getting a ton of new growth on them, so I want to go ahead and get them trimmed up before more new growth comes this season. But let's go ahead and start with that. After I get those trimmed up, then from there I'll show you all the other plants that are already in this garden. Okay, so I use electric hedge trimmers when I'm cutting my boxwoods. Not necessarily the best thing, and I've never sharpened these. These are super old. Probably should sharpen them and I would get better cuts. But basically what I do is when I'm coming in to start a shrub such as this, I go off the top first, and that kind of shows me the general height that I'm aiming with. So let's do that first. Okay, so now that helps me define where the top of my shrub is. And from that, I'm going for a rounded sphere shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the base, and I'm going to do a round shape going up. Just like that. And I continue to do that from all sides a little bit at a time, starting further in, coming out in a rounded shape, and then ending more towards the top. While I'm working on it, I kind of step back and look at it. You're really kind of wanting to look at the sides of it. So I'm almost pretending that there's already a ball, like I'm visualizing a ball in the middle of the shrub, and I'm trying to remove everything on the outside of that line of that ball. All right, and then I give it a nice good shake, remove any extra ones that are stuck in there. I see some extra growth down here. Get that cleaned up, looks good. Okay. Let's do this next one, and you can see that these have gotten so big because I haven't trimmed them, but in the middle's kind of flopping. They're just getting so heavy. But let's go ahead and start with this one. So once again, I'm aiming for relatively the same size. I'm not an expert, so I'll just do the best I can. We're going to start by coming across the top. And then we'll start down low and work our way up. Now, when you decide to prune your boxwoods or other shrubs, you definitely don't want to prune until you're past the chance of a frost, because what'll happen is all this area isn't kind of like scarred off, like hasn't healed itself, the areas I'm cutting, and so it can be damaged by late freezes and frost. All right, just shake out all the loose branches. You could actually save a whole bunch of this. This is all beautiful growth, and make a dried boxwood wreath. I got too much going in the garden to focus on that right now. Okay, much cleaner. Those look nice. And now by trimming those back, it really allows me to see a lot of the plants around him. This guy was a much fuller plant than this one. This guy will catch up though. They both look really good. Nice and cleaned up, relatively the same size, relatively the same shape. Looks good. So let's go in here and start talking about some of these perennials I have in here and start pulling some out and trimming some back and just really getting down to the details. In here I have this guy right here, which is a planter that everything in it is not good. So what I'm going to go ahead and start doing is, just for time's sake, just go ahead and cutting back a bunch of this stuff so I can see a little bit better what's going on. This does have drips set up to it, so I want to make sure that I'm not cutting my drip lines. This had plumbago in it. Got some petunias at one point, lantana. A lot of good stuff going on in here. But I didn't actually end up liking what I had in it. I think that these planters just need something like super basic, like a evergreen or a shrub in them. And that's all that I want to have in them. So, all right, so we got that for now. Okay, and there's its drip line to it. Now, down here is a ton of ornamental grass and such. I think right here is a lantana. I'm going to just cut that back. It's still too early for my lantanas to be coming up. Got some of the ornamental grass. I am over it. I don't want the ornamental grass anymore. I know it has most likely reseeded itself, so it's going to be important for me to stay on top of as we continue to go into the spring. So I'm just going to start by pulling out a bunch of this. Okay, I'm pretty sure that I'm still going to have some of those grasses showing up. But I feel better getting this cleaned up. We're actually going to do some planting over here as well. Okay, let's go little bit by little bit. This right here is a lamb's ear. It's a Helen von Stein lamb's ear. And I need to go through and cut out a lot of the dead stuff. That stuff isn't necessarily from the winter. A lot of this is actually from old growth, and during the summer new growth would come up, so the older growth would get pushed down. And so I need to go ahead and get that cleaned up. Sometimes you have to, on these lamb's ears, you have to sacrifice some of the new growth in order to get out some of the old growth. But I'm okay with this, because if you don't get these cleaned out, they can get a lot of snails, junk like that, which I don't necessarily want, because it can cause some problems for other plants. Not necessarily this plant. This plant seems to do just fine. But I don't want it to be like a breeding ground. And this came from one plant that I divided a couple of years ago. Divided it into 4 plants, which has worked out really good. And this will fill out and spill over the edge of the garden, which is legit like my favorite thing for plants to do, is to spread over the edge of the garden. And we are going to be hitting with everything that I'm touching today. We are going to be hitting with some fertilizer as well. It is that time of the year to fertilize all these. So, and if you haven't noticed yet, we're under a wind advisory today. So right here, all these scraggly sticks coming up are coming from the base of a plant that is a meteor showers verbena, which is a perennial in my area. So I'm going to go ahead, it's already got a ton of new growth. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out all the old growth. And I always leave these sticks up for the all of winter, because they drop seed heads or seeds, and then sometimes I can get some new plants, which I love. But all of this green growth right here, this is all of its new growth for this year. Some kind of weed vine there. And this guy right beside it is also a verbena. These are great for cut flowers, very drought tolerant. Beautiful color, add a lot of height, and pollinators love them. Their stems are almost square, which is kind of cool too. And then this over here is also meteor showers verbena. All right. So we'll just get all of this dead stuff removed in here. You don't necessarily have to be cutting it. You can just break it and pull it out if you want. I'm just trying not to disturb the new growth. Like I said, I leave all of my stuff during the winter. Okay, this right here is a butterfly bush, a pugster butterfly bush. I actually got some stray verbena up front that I'm going to pull up right here. And I already cut it back. This is one of those Proven Winners Pugster Blue, I believe is what it is. It gets really bad spider mites, so I have to cut it down multiple times a season. I had no idea. Like, this is my only butterfly bush that like struggles with that. But yeah, so that's a struggle for that. However, when I cut it down, it doesn't have any issues. It comes right back. So it's really, I don't even bother treating it. I just enjoy the blooms, and then I hack it all the way back to the ground, and it comes back and does great. Okay, and then this right here is a sedum. I think it's something fire, autumn fire. It's not autumn joy. I'll put it down below. But it's just flushed back beautifully and looking really good. Now, over here is some stuff that we're going to remove. Right here is a green twister echinacea or coneflower that I grew from seed that this is like year 4 or something on it, and I'm just not a fan. Don't like the look of the flowers. It's not very tall. I'm not into it. So I'm not going to keep it, y'all. And no guilt because I grew it from seed. So no big deal. I've given it plenty of time, but I don't like it in here. And I'm not going to pass it on to anybody because I don't really actually think it's that great of a plant. So I don't want to stress about it. Don't want to give anybody false hope. Just digging in here to see if I feel any roots. Okay, and then right beside it, this right here is Peter Cottontail yarrow, which I also grew from seed. And I also do not like it. Flops over really easily. It just doesn't, it doesn't do anything for me. It's spread some. I don't really care that it's spread. It's not a plant that I enjoy very much. And I put it in at the same time as the green twister, and I don't like it. I'd rather put something else in there that brings me more joy. And y'all know I'm big on that. Survival of the fittest in this garden, and also I gotta love it. I don't have tons and tons of space to keep things that I don't enjoy. Yeah, that looks good. Soil's nice over here. It's real good. About to get a big storm coming through, so I'm kind of anxious as well to get through all this so that get some plants planted so they can be well watered from the storm. Okay, over here I also have a what's it called? It's like double something or other. I think it's like mixed in here with this verbena. I think this is some of it coming up right here, and then this is the verbena. And I'll put the name, yeah, it's already getting ready to bloom right there. So it's a great one. I also grew it from, it's like Paradisio, that's what it was. I also grew it from seed as well. Okay, and then this is more of the lamb's ear. This is the original plant. This is where the original location of the plant was. But, and then I divided it and spread it out into other locations. going in here and clearing out some of this dead to allow for better air circulation is good. It's good stuff. Helps the plant out. If you pull out some of the new stuff, it's fine. Stuff will grow vigorously. Really, really love it for ground cover and for really just like soft accent in the garden. This is what I've been wanting to do, a video on plants with quiet roles in the garden, because I think we focus a lot on the wow factor plants. I just thought it might be neat, and this is one of those plants. It has a very quiet role in the garden. And the quiet roles are important. Not everybody can be a star. Okay, there we go. And then one more of these planters. I'm going to go ahead and cut this all back. A lot of baby seedlings in here. I don't really know what they are. Okay. I need my family to come help me clean this up. Okay, and before we start planting new stuff, I've got my plant tone, and I'm just going to go into the bottom here and just get some plant tone worked into the base of my plants, of the shrubs and of the perennials. This seems like an area you can skip. Oh, don't put fertilizer on your sedum. It doesn't like sedum. It doesn't like fertilizer. This seems like such a simple thing to skip, like, oh, they don't really need the nutrients of some fertilizer. It really helps a lot with your plants. I do have an evergreen that I pulled out of a pot in the front yard, and it doesn't have a home right now. And so I think I'm just going to go ahead and put them into this container for now. Until I decide. I wanted to put an evergreen here anyway, but this will work here for now. Actually might end up being beautiful. I haven't decided if like this actual pot is even staying here at this point. Go ahead and hit that. Some fertilizer to get it going. Tuck in tree. There you go. And then I've got my line, drip line. Get that in there. I'm going to go ahead and water this real quick though, because I had that guy just sitting out for a while. Hopefully he'll do okay. This might actually end up being pretty nice looking. Add a little height here. Okay, let's talk about this area. So this is where the ornamental grass was, all right? So what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to tuck some things that'll be taller back here. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm actually going to tuck some lilies back here. Let me think. I think I'm going to do this lily Nettie's Pride, and this is about 36 to 48 inches tall, full sun to part shade, summer bloomer, excellent for cut flowers, great in borders and containers. And these bulbs are planted about 4 to 6 inches deep, and I've got 7 of them. So I'd like to get them as far tucked back as here and kind of bring them out in this area a little bit. Maybe on the other side of, maybe a little bit on the other side of the rain, the drain from the gutters, the gutter drain. Then I also think I'm going to tuck in some additional bulbs. These are gladiolas, and this particular variety is called Plum Tart, and they bloom mid to late summer. There's 15 bulbs in here. I got them from $6.99. I'm not sure, I don't recall where I got this particular variety. They like full sun. They are hardy in zones 7 to 10 and annual in zones 2 to 6. These are also planted about 4 to 6 inches deep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start with the lilies. Spread these bulbs out a little bit. Let's see what these look like. All right, lily bulbs look pretty good. They still have their roots attached, so you can see where the bottom of the root is. And I'll put up a picture of what lily bulbs tend to look like. So let me spread these out some. I definitely want to put some on this side of the gutter. There's another one. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I guess this one's 7, but it's mush. So ended up with 6. Well, I guess this one technically, this one's dividing itself. 7. Okay, so I've got those. And since they're planted at the same depth as the gladiolas, I'm going to go ahead and open up the gladiola bulbs and spread these out as well. And these are the Plum Tart. So I think the Nettie's Pride would be mixed in with this Plum Tart will be really pretty. Now you can tell gladiola, kind of this bottom portion that's more rounded is the bottom where the roots come out, and where there's a point towards the top, that is the top. And I do have a, this is a lantana. It says Havana Sunset. And I think it comes back every year, but truthfully, I'm not going to lie. I have a hard time remembering. We'll stick that there for now. Okay, so these should grow up through this area. And lily bulbs get bigger and bigger every year. And so with these bulbs, 4 to 6 inches, so I'm just using my hoary knife to work my way down to the 4 to 6 inches and then tuck my bulbs in. I did forget to spread some fertilizer. I'll spread some on top once I'm done. We'll see, these lily bulbs are really small. They're from Lowe's, I believe. All right. Sweet. Looking good. Okay, also in this area, right here in front of the bulbs, but beside the boxwood, I'm going to put a Caryopteris that I picked up at the Collin County Master Gardener's Show. And the variety is Pavilion Blue. It blooms summer into early fall, full sun, huge for pollinator attractors. Plant in full sun, prefers well-draining soil. Height is 24 to 48 inches. I think it'll end up being a little bit shorter just because this. I am cramming my plants in. I like that look. I want them kind of growing on top of each other and filling all the space. So that's why I just crammed all those bulbs in, and then I'm going to put a Caryopteris right here. And I am hoping it grows over the edge of the garden some. I think would be beautiful. This is hardy in zones 5 to 9. Striking fragrant flowers attract butterflies, complement gray-green foliage, creates a cloud-like effect in the garden or mixed shrub planting. Drought tolerant, deer resistant. For best plant shape, cut back to 6 inches in spring as new growth appears. So what I'm going to do is use my hoary knife to dig out a space right here. And this is in front of all those bulbs that I just planted. There are a ton of roots in here. I assume from the boxwood, but also from the Landseer. All right, let's add some plant tone. definitely want to add a slow release fertilizer to get these started. Oh, look at that. Okay, so this is definitely root bound. So I'm just going to take my hoary knife on the serrated edge and just loosen up these side ones. Okay, there you go. That looks good. That'll be really pretty filling out this space right here. Okay, working over to this portion of the garden over here. We've got a few different things. I've got a couple of phlox varieties. This first variety is called Uptown Girl from the Garden Girl series, Tall Garden Phlox. And it is about 32 to 36 inches tall. It likes more than at least 6 hours of daily sun. It is hardy in zones 3 to 8, blooms midsummer. Although I find that my phlox bloom more spring than summer. And it has light pink flowers, dark pink centers, disease-resistant foliage, performs best in moist, well-draining soil, provided good air circulation, and fertilize bi-monthly. I don't typically fertilize my my phlox very often, that often. It's just beginning of the season is when I do it. So the idea is that it will grow up and kind of partly cover this pot. I want this pot to be partly hidden. And you have to remember that I've got all of this meteor showers verbena that'll grow up to almost over 4 feet tall. I mean, it's fantastic. I got hair all over the place. All right, and then I have another phlox from the Garden Girl series called Cover Girl. And this variety is 38 to 42 inches tall, so it's a little taller than this particular one. And it needs all the same things, at least 6 hours of sun a day, hardy in zones 3 to 8, blooms midsummer, lavender purple flowers, white halo centers, disease resistant as well. So I got both of those from Covington's. So the idea is that these are going to grow up and among themselves with the meteor showers verbena, which I think will be really beautiful. And this space should fill in and be like almost wild. I'm a little tempted to move, instead of this one right here, I think I'm going to move it that direction. So I get a little bit more height behind my butterfly bush and then do something lower right here. Yeah, I think I'm going to move the Cover Girl back here. And then I'm going to move the Uptown Girl right here. And I think that that'll be really pretty for filling in this space. And then we can do something else right there. So I'm just going to dig the holes for them and then add in some plant tone. Okay, and then right here, I'm going to plant another Caryopteris that I got from the Collin County Master Gardeners Association sale. This is called Pavilion Pink. It blooms midsummer to early fall, full sun. And it prefers well-draining soil, grows 24 to 48 inches tall, and it is hardy in zones 5 to 9. Striking, fragrant flowers attract butterflies and complement gray-green foliage. Creates a cloud light effect in the garden or mixture of planting. Drought tolerant, deer resistant, for best plant shape. Cut back to 6 inches in the spring as new growth begins. And it's already putting off some flowers, which is awesome. So I could just put it right here, but I'm going to actually shift it back a little bit and make a little bit of room for some annuals. Soil is just awesome. Been building it for years. I think we're like on year 4 with this soil. It's doing great. And when I say building, I mean I just been planting and adding mulch and adding fertilizer. Nothing crazy. Okay, and then once again, this is root bound, so I'm going to come through with the serrated edge of my hoary knife and just rough all that up. It's going to be a fun one too. Okay, then for this area, I know it seems like I'm putting in a lot, and I am. I'm doing it on purpose. This sad little plant right here is a pink homestead verbena. Let me see if I can find the info on it. I'll put up some info about it. It's a perennial in my area. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But I'm going to go ahead, I think I'm going to tuck it right towards the middle right here. It should put on some really great growth and spill over the edge of the garden, just like that. And then I have some additional petunias that I grew from seed that I'm going to tuck into a few places here just to fill in the space a little bit more. And I'm out of plant tone, or else I would be adding fertilizer, just so y'all know. These will only last until mid to late June. And then the petunias will fizzle out. These dollar store petunias are very leggy. I think actually once I get them all planted, I think I'll give them a little bit of a trim. I think that would be helpful. Actually, let me grab my tools now. So we want to get these branching out some. So I'm going to come down, just cut above a set of a couple of leaves. And this will encourage some more growth on them. Encourage them to branch out some. Yeah, because look how leggy they are. But grown from seed. That's exciting. All right. This is going to be beautiful. I need to come up with something right here to spill over the edge. I think on it. This is a Italian stone pine in here. It's pretty. Really like these whatever frond things are at the end. Very cool looking. Okay, I am going to shift back over this spot. Now remember, we have bulbs in the back here, but I want to go ahead and put an additional verbena. I'm going to put it right on this front edge. Right, and then I'm going to also tuck in a few petunias right here as well. Okay, it may not look like much. It's going to be gorgeous, y'all. So, started over here, trimmed up the boxwoods. They both look great. Over here, I went ahead and planted this extra evergreen I had. Looks a little crooked, but truthfully, the pot is crooked. Tucked in some bulbs over here. The Letty's Pride, I believe, lilies, and the plum tart gladiolas. Then I also tucked in a pink homestead verbena, some petunias that I grew from seed, the blue pavilion caryopteris. Then we trimmed up some of our perennials, including the Helen von Stein lamb's ear, and we fertilized it as well. And then this is a blue pugster butterfly bush. And then back here we tucked in two new varieties of phlox, Uptown Girl and Cover Girl. And then we trimmed up our Meteor Showers verbena, which is coming back beautifully. Have a sedum there. We removed the Peter Cottontail yarrow and the green twister echinacea. We let those go. I added the caryopteris, the pink pavilion caryopteris, and added some additional petunias that I grew from seed there. Then over here we have the Paradisio echinacea or coneflower that I grew from seed, mixed in with some of the verbena, Meteor Showers verbena right there. I really would like to put some kind of something right here. I don't know what it is. Got to think about it. Maybe the Greg's Mist would be pretty there. I don't know. We'll see. Something that it will spread. I would love for it to spread all back here. Cleaned out this container. Cleaned out this container. I don't know what I'm going to put there yet. I do have a juniper that might work really well, and it's like tall. So that might look really nice right there. I'd love to add some annuals spilling out the side here, but we'll do that at a later point in time. And then we also cleaned up this lamb's ear. So a lot of work today, y'all. It looks a million times better, and this is just only going to get bigger and more full. I'm really excited, especially all the perennials I added. Very excited about this. Now, while we have a minute, let's appreciate the double bridal wreath spireas. because they are at their climax here, maximum. They look like popcorn, absolutely beautiful. We have a big storm coming in tonight, so they will never be as full as they are right now. Absolutely gorgeous. Here's the other one right here. Just stunning. I love them. They do not bloom for very long. I maybe have 2 weeks left on them, and then they will all be gone. But they just make me so happy at this time of the year. Absolutely beautiful. Looking really, really good. The next part we're going to work on the side garden is starting from this spirea over. And we're going to work around this front edge right there. And then finally we'll round up with this area at the end. But this is a perennial garden that needs some work. It needs to get cleaned up for the spring. But it's actually on its way to having some beautiful plants going in it. It's looking good. Okay. Got that done. I have rain coming. I'm glad to have that done. I'm glad I kind of waited till later in the day. The sun went behind the clouds, and so it's nice and cool out here. We've had a wind advisory, so I am a little nervous about the voice quality, about the sound quality on this video, but it is what it is. But I've been looking at that space for several weeks now, just writing up everything I was going to do on it. So I'm really excited to have that all tidied up and ready to go for spring. It's gonna be absolutely beautiful. I hope you all, if you're in my area, you're out in your garden, you're working, starting to get stuff ready now that we're past our last frost date. For those of you who are more north or in cooler zones, your spring is coming. It is right up your alley. Hopefully you're starting seeds. You're starting to check out perennials that you want to either begin planting this spring, perennials you want to cut back, plants you want to move around, but you're making plans in your garden. Highly suggest dividing up your garden into smaller sections. So this side garden, when it's all said and done, will have been divided up into 3 to 4 different sections, which will be great. And it's just much easier for me to handle than doing all of it. Even my front garden, which is not very big, I divided that up into 2 sections, which helped a lot. So definitely consider that, especially for all of my gardening friends who are still in colder temps. Now's the time to plan. Start planning out what you're going to do in each section of your garden regarding fertilizer, new planting, whatever it is that you're wanting to do. All right, you all, as always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I love hearing from y'all, hearing what you're doing in your garden. If you are local, let me know if you are getting any new perennials tucked into your garden. And if you're in colder zones, let me know what new perennials you're going to be adding to your garden this year. And make sure you check me out on my social media outlets, including Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. As always, she's a mad gardener or decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.